All right, y'all, the Final Four set. Today's show is sponsored by Action247.com, Tennessee's only sportsbook by Tennesseans for Tennesseans. On Saturday at 5 o'clock, number 2 Villanova takes on number 1 Kansas, and then number 8 UNC takes on number 2 Duke. That is a UNC-Duke meeting in the Final Four. It's never happened. We're all super excited about this. And Tennessee's favorite local sportsbook is cooking up some Final Four parlays. If you bet $50 on the Final Four under Action 24/7's actions, they will reward you with an extra $15 free bet if it hits. Did you know with Action 24/7, you can gamble with cash? You can go deposit cash at one of their 100 plus partner locations. You can win a big bet and you can pick up your winnings on the same day in cash. Make sure to use code DADS100 though, because they will match half of your first deposit up to $400. That means if you deposit $800, they will give you $400 on top of that. Use code DADS100 for that and go to action247.com. Today's show is also sponsored by Orca Coolers. You know what season it is right now? It doesn't matter because it's dad season year round. You could save 20% at orcacoolers.com if you use code DADSEASON. That is 20% with code DADSEASON. If you want to get a roto-molded cooler or one of the cool tumblers, maybe you want to go for the teams in the Final Four, you want to get a tumbler or a cooler with their logo on it, go to orcacoolers.com. Check it out. They have those whiskey barrel tumblers everybody loves, only at orcacoolers.com. Today's show is also sponsored by our friends at distilleryproducts.com. If you are a distillery, a bourbon group, maybe you're a store, maybe you have a podcast, and you want laser etched glassware at wholesale prices, make sure you reach out to our friends Carson, Janie, Vicky, all the family over at distilleryproducts.com. Go to their website. They also have some awesome swag. They have those mirror tumblers. They have all sorts of things like flasks and bar tools. Check them out at distilleryproducts.com. Tell them the dad sent you.
I found out something interesting the other day.
What is it?
So, like, you know them, like the yellow mustard packets you get with your Chinese food?
Yeah.
Did you realize those are only available in those damn packets?
There's no way to like mass order the mustard and get it in a bottle that you can put on stuff at home?
I mean, not that I could find. I spent some time on Amazon doing this. Plenty of mustard things do pop up. But at least like where I grew up, I remember it. You remember how they used to have like the little silver dishes that also sat on the table? Like 2 of them. There's like a little round cup thing, like a condiment thing, like front and back. And one had sweet and sour, and one had mustard. But that's a lighter color, more like creamy and more of a horseradish based. It's not the same as that damn bright yellow packet mustard.
You are an idiot. You are literally the dumbest. How are you a doctor? You are literally the dumb. I just Googled Chinese food mustard.
Did you listen to what I just said? Look at the color in the bottle. Is it bright yellow or is it a little more creamy, kind of like my skin? And it's the horseradish base. Look at the ingredients on the packet. I spent over an hour doing this shit.
It's bright yellow at Kroger. Oriental Wok, Chinese spicy mustard, $5.69, 9.6 ounces.
Show me a picture of this.
We
talked about this in the chat. I spent forever looking. I could not find the bright yellow stuff in an actual like large container.
I literally just Googled Chinese food mustard.
What do you think I did? On Amazon, everywhere else? Nope. I mean, I walked up and down 2 different Krogers here in town. Ain't none of them got it.
I am going to say lmgtfy.com. That's let me Google that for you.com. I'm about to send you.
I'll be patiently waiting.
Boom. It's on its way.
Trying to see the ingredients because everything else I looked at did not have the same ones. I can't really tell on that. But like I seriously walked up and down the store's aisles because like in this day and age, like that's my thought process. Anything that serves like in those packets, surely somebody mass produces it. Every other sauce, right?
But seriously, like the funny thing is the next 2 that show up on this, if you Google Chinese food mustard, they do have that horseradishy kind of nude tint to it. It's more of a nude colored mustard. And this Oriental Wok one is bright yellow. Like that's your best bet.
I'm already covered because I got 200 packets in the other day.
See, I haven't been reading the chat religiously, I will just tell you, but it is good to know that you got 200 packets of Chinese food mustard.
Yeah, so if you need anything, you let me know. I got it covered. But at least if they forget me on my Uber Eats order, I'm not SOL.
This is the longest cold open about nothing than we've ever done. Let's start the show. Hello, everyone. My name is John Edwards. With me, as always, is Zeke Baker, and together we are the Dad's Drinking Bourbon. One just has a little bit more spicy mustard. Wherever you are, whatever time it is, thank you for making us part of your day. I am ketchup, Zeke is mustard, and how are you, my friend?
Not too bad. A little worn down. Past 3 weeks have been they've been full tilt.
I just want to say a huge thank you to all the people that came out last week for the Folds of Honor, Drams and Jams. Zeke was there. A tasting with us went for $5,000. I want to thank Marcy at Preservation. You didn't realize it went for $5,000?
I must have been in the bathroom during that one.
No, I made you stand up in front of everyone. I started it off. It was a beautiful thing. I started it off and they gave me the mic. I got $5,000 for Jeff Arnett's bottle. So thank you very much, Jeff, from his private barrel of Jack Daniels. And then I asked if a very dumb, tall individual from Georgia could please stand up. And then you looked at me and you didn't want to stand up, but I said, no, you have to stand up. You stood up. So I just said, this is Zeke. He's the other half of Dad's Drinking Bourbon. He's going to bring over these amazing Willet bottles to your house, and I will be there too if you bid very high on this. They did. They bid $5,000 on a tasting experience with us, which is really cool. And then the Stitzelweller Preservation Very Old St. Nick's, the set of them together went for $15,000, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah. I remember that being crazy. Oof.
So the event last year raised $35,000. This year raised $106,000. When we do stuff with them next year, hopefully it could be even higher. But check out foldsofhonor.org, and there's a Folds of Honor TN chapter. Each scholarship goes to a fallen service member or injured service member's family, whether it's a spouse or a child. Each scholarship is $5,000. Tennessee's chapter last year gave over 200 scholarships, but there were 86 scholarships that they still didn't have enough money for. So it's events like this that hopefully we do better than we did last year, and it's just going to give a whole lot of people something good. So check out Folds of Honor, check out Folds of Honor Tennessee, do what you can, and stay tuned because we're going to make Drams and Jams even better next year. Another big news administratively before we actually go into reviewing this larceny, which we should have reviewed last month. But Zeke has been globetrotting. He's been a bumbling fool. It's hard to lock him down. He's actually going to Denver this weekend, and I'm going to Denver next weekend. We are going subsequent weekends for different reasons, and we can't go together.
I mean, I can't imagine you on skis.
It's not very good. I did snowboard. I'm not very good on skis. Even though I'm from New England, I am very much on like the pizza French fry kick, and that's about as good as I can get.
I mean, in my mind, I just hear like a growl or a roar, and then here comes the abominable snowman after me.
I'm much better at drinking cocoa by the hot tub in the cabin and waiting for everybody to come back.
But yeah, so get in one final good weekend in right before the season ends. I'm pretty stoked about it, to be honest.
I am pretty stoked about going out there too because it is a bachelor party. My roommate, we lived together for 5.5 years. He moved back out to Denver, so this is his big last hurrah, so we're going out there for that. He's getting married in Belize. I don't think I'm going to be able to make the wedding, so I'm going to have to make the bachelor party instead.
Yeah, I can see you pitch that one to the wife. It's kind of a long trip. I don't think the kid do the best on the plane, but I'm sure you'll be good with her while I'm gone.
Yeah, that's not happening. The other thing I would say is we dropped a new logo this week. I hope y'all like it. I will just say the old logo was very busy. Embroiders and laser etch people did not like it, and they told us how difficult it was all the time. In order for us to get merch for you that people wanted to make a whole lot of stuff easier, we just had to simplify the logo, and we hope eventually everybody just sees that D with the glass in the middle and knows it's us. We're putting Dad's Drinking Bourbon in there for now. We have some variations of the logo we can use. On pick stickers, we'll do that DDB that's all together, but the main thing that we will eventually go to is just that D with the glass in there. And we hope everybody understands and likes it. The merch has been flying off the shelf. We never could have merch before, so we have merch now, Zeke, and I think the people really like it.
The numbers should stand for themselves.
Whole lot of good stuff is going on. Anything else you want to talk about? Anything else that's on your mind before we get into this whiskey, my friend?
I don't think anything.
That was a very long pause. I'm shortening it down in the edit, but that was...
I knew you were going to cut it. I was just trying to think if I'd read any interesting bourbon news. I mean, other than that, you just got the Will Smith, Chris Rock thing still trending pretty good. It's always good for a joke or three.
I will go on this for way too long. I mean, we could talk about it, but if you're going to go up on stage and assault someone and you're going to slap them, like at that point, you're committing to it. At that point, you could get arrested. Why the slap?
I mean, it was the heat of the moment. No need to discuss all that. The only topic that interested me about the whole situation is guy gets up and slaps a man for talking about his wife, and then he gets trolled to no end. Like, wow, the world has changed.
But it's not even worth it. At this point, I'm ready to just move on. I'm ready to talk about this whiskey, and I am ready to talk about Larceny A122. It is the first release of Barrel Proof in 2022. It is the wheated barrel proof whiskey from Heaven Hill. It is 68% corn, 20% wheat, 12% malted barley. Per the company website, it's non-age stated, but it is 6 to 8 years old. The proof is 124.4. The MSRP is $49.99 for this whiskey. What did you think about it, Zeke Baker?
Before I dive all the way in, I mean, I thought it was worth tossing out there that, kind of thinking back for the past 2 to 3 years they've been doing the barrel proof releases of these. They're making headway each release, I feel like. I mean, with Elijah Craig barrel proofs, I feel like there's more variance and sometimes, an up and a down tick here and there. But as best I can remember and feel, like these just keep consistently going in the right direction, and whatever little nuances we kind of pick on from the previous one seem to be gone, and it's better in some way.
I agree. I think that there are some that are really good, some that aren't. It goes up and down, kind of.
For the Larceny's, Elijah Craig's, I mean, I feel like the Larceny's been a pretty straight, linear going up kind of thing.
I think, was it the A that I liked more than the B last year? I'm trying to remember.
Obviously way too far back for me. I can't remember any of them standing out as being like, oh man, what happened to this batch? The last one was way better, Well,
either way with Larceny, I think let's just talk about it. I mean, there's one of those things that there's not necessarily a need to review this, but there's a need to review it kind of deal, like because people want to hear the notes and they want to hear why it's different than the last one. But at the same time, a $50 barrel proof weeder, why are you going to fight it? Like, just if you see it in the store, if you saw a Larceny Barrel Proof and you walked into a store, chances are you aren't walking out of that store without that bottle.
Maybe. I don't know. I haven't been in the store too much lately. Any rate, official notes on the Batch A Larceny Barrel Proof for 2022. I thought it was a very corn-forward caramel type flavor. Almost kind of reminded me of a light whiskey. It was really sweet in that regard. I thought the proof came in pretty good. It does pack a little punch or a singe on the tongue, but it's definitely not overwhelming. I did get a little tad of oak, but I wouldn't even go to the point of calling it tannins. It was just kind of enough to let you know that it's been aged in a barrel for a decent amount of time. It's got a mild to medium viscosity, really. Revisited a couple more times and try and get something that's more relatable than just the standardish notes. I think it would be almost like a Butterfinger without the chocolate on the outside of it, but just all the hard stuff in the middle. Like when you were a kid, never get bored and like ate the whole outside of the Butterfinger first, just like nitpicked all the chocolate and then ate the middle part, the crunchy thing. Like, I think that's where this would be. Kind of reminded me of like fresh peanut brittle. And I hadn't had one in a minute, but it was so sweet, but also kind of had like, again, a nutty thing going on with it. If you've ever had, I know like Bar like 308 here in town does it. They'll take Jack and mix it with Mexican Coke in the bottle, and then also pitch in some peanuts, which if you're Southern, peanuts and Coke isn't too uncommon at all to begin with. But with the Jack, it gives you a little special fun there.
It's a lot of fun.
I think it might be in that realm as well. And then the only thing I put down was the finish. I thought was just a singe that kind of lingered, but no flavors. Not really a dig, but because something lingers, but I couldn't taste anything out of it. It was just the remnants, that little bit of singe that picks up in the middle of the palate.
I don't necessarily think it's the singe as much as it's the oak on the finish. Like, it has a dry finish. Now, all that being said, if you were to look at this pour and you were to describe it with an emoji, it's definitely the strong arm emoji. Like, this is just a strong pour. The nose is strong. The palate strong. The finish kind of burnt out. Maybe it's the 10th rep and they couldn't get it up. Finish kind of peters out a little bit, but the nose and the palate are super strong. Like I just get a lot and it's thick. I mean, I know you said it's kind of medium viscosity, but I think it's got, maybe it's just the heat and the overall just boldness of the 124, but I got a lot from the nose and the palate. Like a lot of dark fruit, maybe a little bit of molasses on the nose, a little caramel too. But then the palate, I definitely got huge caramel bomb, but a lot of spice, a little bit of leather and oak on there too, but it wasn't too much drying on the palate. Like the singe comes through a little bit with that heat. And I think that leather and oak kind of linger going into the finish that dry you out a little bit at the end. It's not that drying that makes you want to have another sip. It's that drying where it really dries you out. Like it's scorched a little bit. But I say all this, I still love the nose and the taste. Like don't let the finish fool you. You just might need to have like a glass of water handy next to you. And at $50 again, I'm drinking this all day.
Well, and also too, kind of looking at the opposite light, to me, it was also, what wasn't there. Ever kind of got that chalky feeling that's in some of the larcenies we've had in the past, where you kind of feel like either the barrel came through too much or the wheat might have not had enough time to age in the barrel, things along those lines. I didn't get any of those notes either, which I think made it stand out even more to me as like, oh, now they're really getting somewhere with this Larceny Barrel Proof blending.
I would agree with you on that. And I think each one gets better. I mean, it's the thing on the nose and the taste for this that I can't emphasize enough, that it's a very mature and a very grown up. I think if you look at the progression of Larceny like Zeke is referring to, it's a very grown up pour at this point. So when you're tasting that taste and you're nosing that nose, what is it? You smell it on the nose and you see it with your eyes.
Yeah.
I want to give a huge shout out to Andy from Ammunition because he definitely had a good laugh at that, just like we did. But I was going through it and explaining this, and I was like, yeah, when you nose it with your nose and you taste it with your taste. But it's very mature. Like you see the progression, and there's very much a noticeable difference of when you're kind of tasted a young whiskey that's figuring it out versus this is kind of grown up. Maybe it's got its license right now, but it can't vote, or maybe it can vote, but it can't drink. Like it's one of those transition ones where it's almost fully grown up. And once they get that finish together, it's really going to be grown up, but it's no spring chicken anymore. I mean, it's either voting or driving, one of the two.
Yeah. And I mean, too, it could easily be one of those pours to where someone that had one of the original, first couple of Larceny Barrel Proof batches that came out and like, it is okay, whatever. But I think if you slid them this, like, oh, what's this? I remember said you weren't too sold on it. I didn't really think it was that good. Like they stepped it up a little bit, bud.
I think it goes without saying we're both getting this, right?
Yeah. I'd say, first nip, I was like, ooh, that is a really good sweet. I mean, it was no pun intended in the sweet spot.
And you love whenever Heaven Hill has that sweet bourbon. Like, I think that is just all around, if you want to say the key to Zeke's heart. So the women that are out there courting him right now, if you want to know the key to Zeke Baker's heart, it is sweet Heaven Hill distillate. Whether or not that comes from Willet, whether or not that comes from Lux Row 12, whether or not that comes from Heaven Hill themselves, he just wants some sweet Heaven Hill distillate. It could be pre-fire, it could be post-fire, it could be sitting down by the fire. As long as it is Heaven Hill distillate and it's sweet, it's got Zeke Baker's name written all over it.
I'm not that picky, but I wouldn't turn it away.
Oh, man. On that note, Zeke, have fun in Denver, and I'll have some interviews to put out. When do you get back?
I think I'll end like Sunday at midnight. Whew.
All right. Well, we're going to be recording Monday or Tuesday.
Well, I looked at flights, and to get back, I think at like 7:30 or 9, somewhere in there, was like $350. Or I could just take the 9 o'clock flight and get back at midnight. It was like $100. I'm like, I may as well just, I'm stuck sitting at the airport watching TV at a bar for a couple hours. I'm not going to spend that much damn money. Like, why not?
When I go, I booked prior to any conflict in Europe. So when I booked, it was still cheap to take the 7:30 flight and get back at 9:40. Unfortunately, once that happened, all the flights went up about $300. So I'm glad you're getting in at $100. Zeke, have fun. The folks can find us on Facebook at Dad's Drinking Bourbon, Twitter at Bourbon Dads, Instagram at Dad's Drinking Bourbon. Please find us wherever you download your podcast. You already have, so please leave us an open and honest review, just like we leave open and honest reviews about the whiskey we drink. Zeke, where else can the folks find us?
Good old Nashville, Tennessee, and various other parts.
Cheers.
Ciao.